What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday time. Check out some new releases that are coming out this Friday, November 14th. It's about 450 albums coming out this week. I got 12 on my list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 450 albums that are coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 12 on the show today, so if there's something you're looking forward to that I'll have on here, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. And like always, if you're unable to find these in your local brick and mortar stores, they should be available online. I'll put links down below in the comment section for them. You can also always go over to the Vinyl Den store on Amazon. All the pre-orders are on there. There's new releases. There's deals on records. All sorts of cool stuff to check out. There's a few big box sets that are getting released this week. The first one is Warning by Green Day, released back in 2000. It was their 6th studio album, 25th anniversary. So there's a 1 LP version of this. It's going to run you about $27. And then there's this big 5 LP box set. It's going to run you about $142. It's all newly remastered. The 1 LP is going to be on neon orange vinyl. But this album marked a big musical shift for Green Day, from the punk rock that they did in their youth to more of kind of a, I think more of a complex rock band. They incorporated more like folk and pop into the music on this album. I think it was easily their most mature album up until that point. And it took some fans, including myself, a really long time to come around to the greatness of this album. I think mainly because it was so different from anything else they did before it. Because if you come up listening to albums like Kerplunk and Dookie, and then you listen to Warning, musically, it's a very big shift. But I get it. You know, bands want to evolve and change and do things differently with their music. And, you know, they wanted to experiment with this album. And for the longest time, it was probably one of my least favorite albums from the band. But, you know, over the last 25 years, it's grown to be one of my favorites from them. This is a box set that I easily pre-ordered as soon as it went up online. Even though you're not getting a lot of extra content in this box set, I mainly got it for the live material that's included in there. So on the 5 LP box set, you got the album on 1 LP, and then you got 1 LP worth of demos, and then you got a 3 LP live performance from Japan in March of 2001, which the demos album, even in the other box sets, I really don't listen to those very often. For me, like I said, just having that live material really kind of makes it worth it for me. And if you don't want to drop the $140+ on that, it's also going to be available on CD. So like I said, definitely looking forward to grabbing that this week. Then you've also got the Rolling Stones Black and Blue. Came out back in 1976. It was their 13th studio album. It's all newly remixed by Steven Wilson. So it's also going to have a couple of different versions of this. You've got a 1 LP version that's going to run you $30. There's a 2 LP version of this that's going to run you about $38. And you got a big 5 LP, 1 Blu-ray version. It's going to run you about $230. So this album's kind of notable because it's the band's first album since Mick Taylor left the band after the release of It's Only Rock and Roll in 1974. Ronnie Wood does make an appearance on this album. I think he's on 3 or 4 songs on here, but he wouldn't become a full member of the band until the album was released. And the album continued this push that the Rolling Stones had over the last couple of albums, really trying to be more experimental with their sound. They incorporated more reggae and funk into their music. I feel like this is one of those albums from the Rolling Stones that just doesn't get talked about a lot because of all the other great albums the band would release in the 70s. The bigger box set is just out of my price range, but I think you're getting some good content on that 2 LP version. Like I said, the whole thing's all remixed and remastered by Steven Wilson. The 1 LP version is just the album. And then the 2 LP version comes with a second disc of outtakes on there. And if you do want to grab the bigger box set, it comes with those outtakes, and then it has a 3 LP live performance from Earl's Court 1976. And then the Blu-ray has unreleased TV performances, and then also includes the Dolby Atmos mixes. It also has all the other stuff you expect to have in a box set. It's got a 100-page book. Yeah, I think it also has a poster along with it. Comes in this nice big deluxe slipcase. $230. I mean, it is a good album. That's just it's a lot of money for me to drop on it. There's also the box set of Amorica by the Black Crowes coming out this week. Released back in 1994. It was their 3rd studio album. It was also newly remastered. So there's a 2 LP version for $33, and there's this big 5 LP super deluxe edition for $200. So it's almost born out of the Stalled Tall sessions, and several of those songs were actually re-recorded for Amorica. And honestly, Amorica probably is, in my opinion, the last truly great album from the Black Crowes. Yeah, they would go on to release some good stuff after this, some really good albums, but I think the infighting in the Black Crowes, I think, really negatively impacted pretty much every album the band would release after this. It'd go on to hit number 11 on the Billboard 200, and it'd be the band's last gold album here in the US. I think you're getting some pretty cool content in this bigger box set. So the 5 LP box set has the remastered album on 2 LPs, and then you've got remixes of the Tall Era recordings on LP3. So the Tall Era recordings end up getting released. I think it was like early 2000s when that came out, but they sound horrible. So it was great to see them now go back and kind of remix or remaster those. So hopefully they sound a lot better in this box set, because I know there was a lot of really disappointed Black Crowes fans when that finally got released on vinyl, and the sound quality was just that poor on that release. So it's great to see that's going to be included in this box set. And then LP4 is an unreleased recording session from October of 1992, and then LP5 is a live recording from London from October 94. And then you got that stuff that's generally included in these box sets. You know, there's a slip mat in there, there's posters, there's a bumper sticker also. I think the really cool thing is the way the album is packaged. So it comes in this black shrink wrap, which is a nod to the way the album was censored when it was first released. Because there was a couple of stores, I think Walmart was one of them, that would not sell the album with the original artwork. So the album artwork was edited with just a blackout image. So so I think it's kind of cool that they're doing that with the shrink wrap. So I don't know. I probably won't grab the box set this week, but you know, if this is included in some of those holiday sales over the next couple of months, maybe I'll grab a copy of it then. And then you've got Theater Pain by Motley Crue coming out this week. Came out back in 1985. It was their 3rd studio album, 40th anniversary release. So like I said, same with the first couple of releases. A couple different versions of this. There's one LP version. It's going about $28. And then there's this big 4 LP box set. It's going to run about $150. Same thing with the first couple of box sets. It's all newly mastered. The 1 LP is going to be on orange haze vinyl. This album's kind of a big turning point for Motley Crue, because it was released, you know, right in the aftermath of Vince Neil's arrest for manslaughter. And musically, the album was kind of a shift away from this heavier rock sound that they had on the first couple of albums. And musically, you know, it was still heavier rock, but it was more, I think, geared towards, you know, kind of a mainstream kind of sound. And honestly, outside of Smoking in the Boys' Room and Home Sweet Home, I've never been a huge fan of this album. And out of all their albums from the 80s, it's easily my least favorite album of theirs. But I still don't think it's as bad as a lot of people say the album is. I know even Motley Crue has been somewhat critical of this album over the years. So what you're getting in this box set, it's 4 LPs on multicolor splatter vinyl. LP1 is just the original album. Like I said, it's all newly remastered. And then LPs 2 and 3 is Live from Long Beach. And then LP4 is demos and alternate mixes. Also has a hardbound book that comes with it. All comes housed in this really nice deluxe slipcase. I already have a couple copies of this album, and like I said, I'm not a huge fan of this album anyway as it is. So it's one I'll pass on this week. But, you know, if I could find this, you know, down the road for a lot less than $150 that the box set is, if I can find this on sale for a lot cheaper than that, you know, maybe one day I'll pick up a copy of it. And now that we're midway through November, we're getting closer to Christmas. There is a Christmas album that's coming out this week that I probably will grab. I've not pre-ordered it, but you know, if I'm at the record store this week, I probably will grab a copy of it if they have copies of it available. But this is Taylor Momsen's Pretty Reckless Christmas. This is a new 6-song EP that's coming out. It's on ruby red vinyl. It's going about $28. Taylor Momsen, who of course is the lead singer of the Pretty Reckless, got her big break playing Cindy Lou Who back in the 2000 film How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And this EP is supposed to be blending that hard rock sound of the Pretty Reckless with that, you know, timeless holiday spirit. The EP opens and closes with a reimagined version of the song Where Are You Christmas, which is the song that Taylor sang in the movie. Looks like it's going to be another great addition to the holiday music collection. It looks like it's going to be an interesting release. I'll definitely check this one out. For $28, I probably will grab a copy of that one also. And then you've also got the new album from Cheap Trick, All Washed Up. So it's their 21st studio album. It's going to be on graphite marble vinyl. It's going to be about $27. This is the follow-up to In Another World, which came out in 2021, which was met with really great reviews when it came out. And the title of the album is actually a reference to their 1980 album, All Shook Up. So I kind of like the tie-in with that older album. The album is once again co-produced by Julian Raymond, who I think has co-produced every Cheap Trick album since, I think it was the latest back in 2009. You know, I expect this to be another good album. You know, Cheap Trick is never going to be able to recapture that magic that they had back in their glory days. But I think what they were able to prove on their last couple of albums, that, you know, even this far into their career, you know, they still know how to make some really good songs. Something I almost missed this week because I didn't recognize the artwork is Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears. Came out back in 1985. It was their second studio album. This is on 2 LPs. It's a 40th anniversary release. It's going to be on translucent red vinyl, scoring about $38. So they had some success with their debut album. It was really their sophomore album that made them, one of the biggest stars of the 80s. Both Everybody Wants to Rule the World and Shout were both massive hits. It helped the album hit #1 on the Billboard 200. So this is being released with the original alternate artwork, which I've never seen on any of the releases before. And that's why I was going down through the list. When I saw it, it didn't click with me at first. It wasn't until I was actually on a distributor's website that had it listed on there that I went back through and realized it was coming out this week. I do have an original pressing of this that sounds great, but I might grab this version that's coming out this week because it's on 2 LPs, and then the second LP includes alternate mixes, there's demos, there's also singles versions on there, so you're getting some extra content that's on this version that's coming out this week. So like I said, I probably will grab that one this week. And you've also got Sponge, Electric Cattle Gods, The Lost Tracks. So this is a collection of rarities, unreleased tracks. It's going to be on orange vinyl. It's going to run you about $30. Sponge is one of those bands I've long said is one of the more underappreciated rock bands of the 90s. There was 1 or 2 tracks on here that end up being re-recorded for their debut album, Rounding Pinata. And then there's some other tracks on here that never made it on to any of their other releases. And as much as I love their first 2 albums, Sponge's stuff has really been kind of hit or miss after that. This is one of those albums where, if this is available on streaming, I'll stream it and check it out and then kind of decide from there if it's worth grabbing. But we'll see. For $30, it's not a bad price, but I am picking up some stuff this week, and I will say for November and December, there's a lot of albums and a lot of box sets I'm grabbing in the later part of the year. So it's going to be an expensive end of the year for me. So this might be one of those releases that gets left off my list, at least for the time being. But apparently the original name for Sponge was the Electric Cattle Gods, which they ended up switching over and going with Sponge, which I think is a great move because I think Electric Cattle Gods is just a terrible name for a band. This week, you've also got a reissue of the Cars Greatest Hits coming out. Released back in 1985, it's going to run you about $39. So this is the Greatest Hits compilation from the band's first 5 studio albums. That's easily one of the most successful Greatest Hits compilations of the 80s. It would hit, I think, #12 on the Billboard 200. It would go on to sell over, I think, 6 million copies here in the U.S. It includes all the band's best-known tracks from the early part of their career. And I think for a band like the Cars, it's really hard to narrow their career down to just 18 or 19 tracks. I think this one does a really good job, I think, of representing the greatness of the early part of their career. I do have an original pressing of this that sounds great, so at least that's one I can cross off my list for this week. And then you got some great jazz releases that are coming out this week, but I'm only familiar with this first one. This is Surf Ride by Art Pepper. It came out back in 1956. This is part of the Craft Recordings original jazz classic series. These are always mastered from the original analog tapes by Kevin Gray. They're pressed to RTI. It's going to run you about $40. So this was recorded over 3 different recording sessions between 1952 and 1954 with a host of great jazz musicians. And this has long been seen as one of the quintessential West Coast jazz albums of the 50s. It has that cool jazz kind of sound that, was kind of a stark contrast to the more chaotic hard bop sound of the East Coast. Yes, if you're a 90s rap fan, going back to the 50s and 60s, the West Coast and East Coast had their own style of jazz music also. Like I say, he's joined by a ton of great jazz musicians. Some of the ones he's got on here, Russ Freeman, Jack Montross, Larry Bunker, Bob Whitlock. It is a great album. And the last 2 albums I got on my list are both part of the Verve Vault series. This is the new series that Verve started. I think it was July or August that they started this series. And I'm not familiar with either one of these albums. So the first one is Jimmy Smith and Wes Montgomery. Jimmy and Wes, a dynamic duo, released back in 1966. So these are all mastered from the original analog tapes. These are pressed to optimal. It's going to run you about $28. So I'm a little familiar with these musicians on their own. I mean, Jimmy Smith did Back of the Chicken Shack, which is an incredible album that he did with Kenny Burrell, Stanley Turrentine. And Wes Montgomery has one of the more unique styles of guitar playing you'll hear in jazz music. So I'm really interested to hear how their playing kind of blends together. And while I'm not familiar with his album, reviews hold this up as some of the best work that either one of them have done. So it's definitely one I'm interested in checking out, especially since, like I said, Back of the Chicken Shack is just an incredible album. And the last album I got on my list is Focus by Stan Getz. Released in 1961, it's all the same stuff. It's mastered from the original analog tapes. It's pressed to optimal. It's going to run you about $28. So I've never been a huge fan of Stan Getz, but I know that Focus is widely held up as, the kind of the high point in his career. And when Stan released his autobiography, he actually listed this album as one of the favorite albums he ever released. It's a little bit of a unique album. So it pairs Stan with a string orchestra. It was all arranged by the great Eddie Sauter, and it was conducted by Hershey Kay, and all of Stan's parts in the entire album were all improvised. It sounds like a fascinating release. I've read a lot about it over the last couple of weeks. It is available on streaming services. I probably should stream it and check it out. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. Like I said, I'm going to grab that Warning by Green Day. I'll probably grab that Christmas album by Pretty Reckless. I got some question marks next to a couple of those jazz albums also. I got a lot that I know I'm picking up over the next several weeks, so it's going to be an expensive rest of November, and then we got Record Store Day Black Friday coming out, so I need to be maybe a little tighter with my record purchases, so we'll see what I end up picking up. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.